A great person is not measured by wealth or fame, but by their mindset. People like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, and Napoleon Hill have all proven one truth. You become what you think about. But if that's true, why do so many people still fail? It's not because they don't dream, it's because their way of thinking hasn't changed. Today's story is about an ordinary beggar who, after an unexpected encounter, discovered the real power of thought and learned that when the mind changes, life changes too. At a crowded train station, a beggar lived on the mercy of passers-by. Every day, he held out his hand, begging for a few coins to survive. One day, he saw a well-dressed businessman walking confidently through the crowd. Hope sparked in his heart. This man will surely give me a lot. He stepped forward and held out his hand. But instead of giving him money, the businessman looked straight into his eyes and asked, "Do you only know how to take from others? Have you ever given anything yourself?" The question stunned the beggar, and it became the moment that changed his life forever. Confused, he replied, "Sir, I am just a poor man living by begging. I have nothing to give anyone." The businessman smiled and said, "If you believe you have nothing to give, then you have no right to ask. I am a businessman. I believe in exchange. If you can give something, I'll gladly give in return. But if you have nothing, I can't help you either." With that, the businessman stepped onto the train and left, leaving the beggar frozen on the platform, with one sentence echoing in his mind. To receive, you must first learn to give. That night, the beggar couldn't sleep. The businessman's words kept replaying in his head. To receive, you must give. He asked himself, "But what do I have to give? I'm just a poor beggar." For 2 days, he didn't beg at all. He just sat and thought. On the third day, as he sat by the platform, he noticed wild flowers blooming brightly by the tracks. Suddenly, an idea struck him. What if I gave people a flower every time they gave me money? For the first time, warmth filled his heart. Maybe giving was the beginning of peace and transformation. From that day on, the beggar began picking wild flowers and bringing them to the station every morning. Whenever someone gave him a coin, he smiled and handed them a small flower in return. To his surprise, people accepted the flowers with joy and even gave him more than before. He realized a deep truth. When you give something good, the universe multiplies it back to you. Flowers bloom and fade, but kindness blooms forever. And from those small flowers, he began his journey from a beggar to someone who could create value. One day, while giving out flowers, he saw the same businessman stepping off a train. Excited, he ran to him and said with a bright smile, "Sir, today I have something to give you these flowers." The businessman smiled, gave him some money, and said, "You are no longer a beggar. You've become a man of exchange, a true businessman." Those words engraved themselves in his heart. He realized he had transformed from someone who only took to someone who could give. That was the beginning of real success. As the train departed, he stood still, thinking about what the businessman had said. Now you are a businessman. A spark lit up in his mind. Yes, he was no longer a beggar. People didn't give him money out of pity anymore. They gave because they received joy from the flowers he shared. He was creating value. He had truly started a business. From that moment, he decided to leave the station, leave behind his old life, and start anew, a journey built on belief in his own value and potential. 6 months later, at that same station, the businessman met a well-dressed man who confidently reached out to shake his hand. For a moment, the businessman was stunned. It was the same beggar he'd met before. Now, he was the proud owner of a successful flower shop, expanding his business. Amazed, the businessman asked, "What changed you?" The man smiled and replied, "You taught me the greatest lesson of my life. To receive, you must first learn to give. When I changed my thoughts, my whole life changed." The two men shook hands, no longer giver and receiver, but equals two successful people bound by respect. As the train rolled away, they both smiled and went on their separate journeys. The former beggar had learned a profound truth. Life is shaped by how we see ourselves. If you think you are small, you'll remain small. But when you believe in your inner value and potential, you can rise to greatness. Because when the mind changes, life changes. The story of the beggar is a powerful reminder that transformation begins in the mind. When we stop complaining, stop blaming, and start creating value for others, life naturally opens new doors. No one is born small, they simply haven't discovered their inner strength yet. Like the beggar, a shift in perspective can turn poverty into prosperity, weakness into power. Remember, when you change your mindset, you are changing your destiny.